All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the world's greatest Bronze Age comic book podcast, Flea Market Fantasy. I'm your co-host, Mike L., and as always, I'm joined by...
Michael Dell of the LCS Hockey Radio Show.
That's right. And the listeners might be confused because we have a special guest this week, straight from Here Comes the Spider Cast, Joshua Mervell.
Hey, what's going on? Happy to be on. Pretty excited to talk about some comics.
That's right. And you can tell us what we're reading because this is your pick.
Right. We're going to be reading The Mighty Thor number 337, which features the first appearance of one of my favorite comic characters of all time, Beta Ray Bill.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Mike
now,
Dell,
Josh,
go ahead.
Before we get into that, though, Josh.
Yeah.
At some point, you just want to say enough with this Mike L character. You're doing the Spider Cast.
Right.
Now you're coming on this dopey show. That's a lot of Mike L. And
So are you saying that you want to branch off and make our own show?
Whoa! Phone.
But I mean,
stepping on toes.
that's a lot of Mike L. You know, how do you deal with this, Mike L, for 5 hours a week or whatever it is?
I'm going to be recording another one tomorrow.
That's right. That's right. The review for Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, don't spoil it, but just yay or nay. Was it good? Or,
It was. I think it was one of the best Marvel solo films.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
And Mike L was very quiet, so I will take that as.
I'm not going to say anything.
All right. All right. So, Josh, what is your history with Thor? I never read Thor when I was a kid because too many thous and these and everything.
Yeah, it's funny. I never really read this as a kid. It wasn't till probably I was in high school when I started reading Thor. That was around the time that the MCU kind of started picking up, and I started to get a little bit more interested in him. And really, the only Thor comics I've sought out are the ones that specifically have Beta Ray Bill, because I remember reading it was like an off branch. It was a story that took place during Civil War. The heroes that were signed up for the Registration Act, they were kind of like divided up into different states. And they were like assigned to different places, right? So they kind of made brand new teams that were assigned for different places in the U.S. But there was also a team that was assigned for Canada. And it was like an off branch of Alpha Flight called Omega Flight. Mm-hmm. And Beta Ray Bill was one of the main characters there. So I think that was probably my first introduction to him. I'd kind of seen this like weird horse-faced man around in comics and was always kind of interested. And then from there, I just kind of went into a deep dive. And I really, really like this weird space dude.
How did Beta Ray Bill get stuck in Canada? Did he lose a bet or what happened?
It's weird. Yeah, you know who else was on the team? Was U.S. Agent. Do you think that maybe they would assign literally any other hero besides U.S. like a hero with United States in his name?
That makes no sense.
Yeah, it's dumb. But
but maybe for the kids who don't know what Beta Ray Bill, do you know his backstory? Can you explain it to the children?
Yeah, sure.
And everything.
So Beta Ray Bill was originally a Corbinite. He was living on the planet of Corbin. Right. Yeah. They're a race of aliens. Very humanoid. They have no hair. I don't think any of them have any noses either. Other than that, they look pretty human, like an orangish gold skin. Yeah. And they lived in a far off galaxy that was targeted by a demon. Now I don't know. Am I cool to just go on and spoil everything? Yes. Cool.
Yeah, it's fine.
It turns out to be Surtur. So Surtur has these fire demons, and he releases them onto this galaxy, and literally sets this galaxy on fire, and exploding this sun allowed him to create the Twilight Sword, which he needed to begin Ragnarok. So Surtur is that big, like, giant devil guy that you always see, like, cutting down the city of Asgard.
Yeah, but like in the movie, it was a big monster at the end, right? Wasn't he the
Yes,
guy?
yeah, that guy. So the Corbinites are like in these ships floating in space, and they're kind of like, well, what are we gonna do? We've got to go somewhere and find a new planet to live on now. But every inhabitable planet is way too far. So they decided to the entire race went into like a cryo sleep, and they chose one hero who they turned into a like half technological, half organic creature who was put through these like intense mental tests. And like the one that survived that came up top was named Bill, and it was the Ray program. So he was Beta Ray Bill, which does actually imply that there is an Alpha Ray, and he does come into play like later on in his history.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he kind of is mutated into this like horse-faced, like big muscly being. He is gifted with this AI enhanced spaceship who is like sentient. And
Scuttlebutt, right?
Scuttlebutt. I love that so much. Yeah. So the two of them are traveling throughout the galaxy with a fleet of spaceships behind them, carrying his entire race as they're asleep, and they're searching for the perfect planet to start New Corbin. And that's kind of where this story kind of picks up. But he ends up becoming the first person to actually wield Mjolnir and take on the powers of Thor. And from there, that's kind of how he became the horse Thor that probably everybody would recognize him as, with like the helmet, with the wings and the red cape and everything. And he eventually gets his own version of Mjolnir named Stormbreaker. And he kind of goes off onto his own adventures from there. He eventually makes he finds a planet that they make into New Corbin. New Corbin is destroyed again, so all of his people die. So he's the last one of his race. Except all of like his people's like souls were sucked into this glowing sphere that he now carries around in Scuttlebutt, trying to figure out how to like get all of his people back. He almost killed Galactus by himself, and not by like killing him with his powers, but by starving him. He was like chasing alongside Galactus and destroying every single planet that Galactus wanted to devour, and he almost killed him.
Is it really smart? Because he's now just murdering millions of people.
Oh, well, it was mostly uninhabited places, and then he Galactus tried to outsmart him and tried to feast on a planet that was inhabited, and he actually blackmailed them to leave the planet. And that's when he kind of loses his faith, and he becomes unworthy to wield his Stormbreaker, and he kind of has to find his way. He's very similar to Thor, so it's but maybe a little bit more like where Thor is kind of like more horsey.
Like if Mr. Ed was Thor. That's what
right. Yeah, because like Thor is almost like a party dude. You know what I mean? Like he's like a bro, like.
Well, nowadays.
I don't think back then he was.
Even before though, he would like drink a lot and he was like celebrate, where Beta Ray Bill is a little bit more on the serious side.
But I mean, old school Thor there was not a speck of humor in old school Thor, right?
True.
It was very dry.
I did hear somebody say that they feel that the MCU Thor is stole his personality from the Hercules miniseries from the early 80s. But I've never read that. But I think Hercules is more of like the drinking kind of bro guy.
Yeah,
but
Hercules is the partier guy.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I was looking into this stuff. Oh, by the way, Walt Simonson created Beta Ray Bill, and this issue we're reading today is written and drawn by Walt Simonson. And this is 337, and this begins a run of, I think he would write the next like 44 out of 45 issues, and he would draw about 30 of those. And the one issue he didn't do in that span, I think it was like 356, featured Hercules. And it was like...
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think Bob Harris and Jackson Guise did the art for that one. But yeah, like I think Hercules and Thor, like Hercules is telling a story about how he beat up Thor or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, this run of Thor is great. I really like when Walt Simonson. I don't think I've read all of them, but every single one of Walt Simonson's issues of Thor I've enjoyed. I think he's also responsible for Throg, is he not?
I have no idea who that is.
The frog when he becomes
Thor
the frog.
Yeah.
Frog. I thought you said Throg. I'm like, well, that's a whole nother thing. Yeah. I don't know what that is.
Is that what it's called, Josh? Throg?
I think he's Throg, yeah.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying.
Thor Frog, yeah.
I had no idea that was the terminology for Throg.
Yeah, I think, let me see, Throg.
I thought it was just Thor Frog.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
Because I think there are two versions of him. Like, there's one where Thor gets turned into a frog, and then there's one where a frog gets a like shard of Mjolnir and becomes Thor. So
that's not a good idea.
Yeah,
that issue was my first issue of Thor ever. Is when he becomes a frog.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's fun.
How about that?
It is fun.
I really like when comics just go like wild with everything. Where they just completely have fun with it.
Right. Like, who cares? Yeah.
By the way, you mentioned how Beta Ray Bill got his name, but do you know what Walt Simonson's first idea was for the name?
No, I don't.
Beta Ray Jones.
Beta Ray Jones. Like, that's actually really great.
Because he wanted a common name, just to make him a common fellow. But he's like, well, there's already a lot of Joneses in the Marvel universe, so he just went with Bill.
Bill.
Beta Ray Jones.
That's probably part of the charm for him. For me, is just the fact that his name is Bill, like Beta Ray Bill. It's great.
It is.
Imagine if it was Beta Ray Bob. That'd be
Beta Ray
right?
Bob. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Michael, what about your history with Beta Ray Bill? Because I always thought he looked cool, but I've never read anything with him. You know, like I've never read a game.
I think I read this 5 or 6 issue storyline years ago, but I didn't go further. But other than that, like I've always been a fan of Walt Simonson's art, especially from X Factor.
Yeah,
but like I'm telling you, growing up, his art in the Marvel universe, like his entries for like Baldur the Brave and Beta Ray Bill and Searcher, oh my god, just blew my mind. They're so good. They're like Kirby but more detailed. Like he's just such a good artist.
Yeah.
What else was I going to say about this? I don't know. Anything else about Thor and Beta Ray Bill, Michael?
The only thing I'll say is I kind of agree. I think you said, Mike Dell. I was never into Thor. He was probably my least favorite Marvel hero growing up, and it was mostly because of the Shakespearean speech pattern. And I could never relate to Thor himself, so I always liked the art, but I could just never get into the stories.
Yeah, then that Hemsworth fella, he just spun it on its head. I love Thor now. You know?
Yeah. Exactly. Like the first 2 Thor movies were just average, but then I love Ragnarok. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was the same. I was never huge into Thor as a kid, but I think maybe that's why I gravitated more towards Beta Ray Bill, because it was more on the science fiction side of things rather than the like Shakespearean, you know, like high fantasy. This is like a little bit more. You've got like the tech side of things and like the science behind it. It's more like sci-fi, like sciencey based. It's there's some fun stuff with him.
Right.
So, what else, Mike? Are we good to start the book?
I'll say one thing. Did anyone happen to click to the issue before to see what it was like before Simonson took over?
I did not.
Because I'll tell you right now, I love me some Herb Trimpe. But if you look at this art, it is brutal compared to Walt Simonson. Not to say it's worse, but it was just, yeah.
I'd say it's worse.
It's not great. But anyway, we can talk about 337 now.
That had to be quite the drastic change for these kids buying Thor. Like one month it's Herb Trimpe, then it's
right.
All right, yeah, the cover here, Mike. Explain the cover because it's great. Classic cover, iconic cover.
So first of all, we have the old, which is now, well, it's old. As of next issue, they have a new logo. So this is the old logo, and it's getting smashed by Beta Ray Bill's. What is it called? Or is this Mjolnir?
This is Mjolnir, yeah.
This is Mjolnir, yeah.
Yeah, Stormbreaker has kind of like a flat side,
right?
And a round.
Yeah, like a point, yeah.
And basically, so we got the corner box, but that's also being smashed. So Thor's picture is kind of getting smashed. Everything's being smashed. And we got this amazing shot of Beta Ray Bill smashing everything. And he's in this cool Kirby pose. But like I was saying, the detail on the muscles and all the armor is just great. He's basically wearing a version of Thor's costume with kind of just more funky stuff. Like the boots have cool little, I don't know what they're like, armor things on them.
Right.
Like the thighs have these things sticking out, right?
Yeah,
like,
instead of like just a cloth or like a normal boot, it's like more metallic and
right. Yeah, and like his what are those called? Like his shoulder pad things, they have like sort of this weird texture on them or like pattern on them. Everything's just really cool.
And the little like Thor used to have those dots on his chest and his ribs, going down the front. And,
right.
Beta Ray Bill's got them like connected with little like
lightning. Yeah, I love that. And and he's like we said earlier, he's got orange skin and he has a horse face, but specifically a horse skull like face, right? That's what I believe Walt Simonson based it on. So
yeah, he wanted to make him look like a monster,
right.
So that everyone who read this first issue would be like, "Oh, this monster is wielding Mjolnir. What is going on?"
Right. And also white background. It's a very striking cover. I love it.
Yeah, and I think the original story here with Beta Ray Bill, I think it lasts 4 issues. Is that right, Josh? Do you have?
I think it was 3. It might have been 4.
But he came back then later and doing other stuff.
Yeah, he was back for Ragnarok, and he's back. Yeah, he's back quite a bit.
But,
he joins like Thor Corps.
Yeah. What is that? I had no idea what that was until I read that today. Thor, is that just a ripoff of the Green Lantern stuff? And these
essentially, yeah. There's a bunch of different Thors that.
But they're from different. Together. They're from a multiverse, right?
A few of them are from this one, and then I think there's 1 or 2 that come in from another multiverse. Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds terrible.
Okay. It's actually pretty good though. It's Jason Aaron, right?
I haven't actually read any of that, but.
You got to give new comics a chance, Mike Dell.
Let's take this really unique hero and then make dozens of them so he's no longer unique. I don't know.
Right.
All right. Thor 337, again, written and drawn by Walt Simonson. So, Mike L., here we go, the first page.
Woo! All right. So, Stan Lee presents the Mighty Thor with another cool font at the top there. No description of what he is, though. And then basically, we are introduced to a scenario where something is swinging around something. Well, sorry, this is like a.
Don't be so specific, Mike.
Yeah, you're right. I don't want to bore the listeners. This is one of those demons, right? But we don't know that.
This is actually Surtur.
Oh, this is Surtur.
Yeah. So like we've got some like really long panels on the first page, and it's got a lot of like Kirby-esque explosions.
Right. Like it looks like stars. Like it says, far beyond the fields we know, the core of an ancient galaxy explodes. And it looks like stars actually like kind of exploding, right?
Yeah, right. And like on the third panel, we see kind of like in the middle of this explosion is like this gold bar. Right. And we see on the last panel, these hands holding tongs that are used for like blacksmithing, and they grab that like gold bar that's the center of the sun, and we see that he's now like swinging it onto an anvil, and somebody is making something.
Yes, but it's a mystery.
Right.
It says it even says, "Mark well this figure and listen. Listen. Can you hear it? The wind is rising." I guess this writer doesn't know that there's no sound in space, but whatever. So
he hits the anvil with it, and doom, big word of doom. So
right.
you know there's trouble. This is trouble.
And I bet you that's where Todd McFarlane got that doom for his Spider-Man #1. You remember that?
Not.
Okay.
Oh, no.
The listeners do, yeah. But anyway.
Yeah, we should say, did we say what year this is? 1983, by the way.
Yeah, 83.
But Josh, this is Surtur making that sword you mentioned. Like that big sword he needed.
Right. Yeah, I think he calls it both the Sword of Doom and the Twilight Sword.
Yeah, okay.
It's got two different names. So
he's gonna destroy Asgard with this magic sword, basically.
Right.
And we should point out there's no dialogue, it's just these big panels and narration, right? Right. And it says, "The sound of thunder reverberates throughout a billion worlds." And then it says doom, and this is big explosion. And then we cut to Earth. And this is the funny thing is, whatever Thor stories I've read were mostly later on, and Donald Blake was already gone. But at this point, Thor still turns into lame physician Donald Blake, right?
Well, actually, it's funny you say that. Walt Simonson, I believe, part of the reason why Beta Ray Bill was introduced was to get rid of this Donald Blake persona.
Right.
Because by the end of this story, we learn that Beta Ray Bill's people, the Corbinites, kind of fear him a little bit because of the way he looks and how demented he is. Mm-hmm. So Odin actually transfers the enchantment on Mjolnir that whenever it's tapped, it turns back into the staff to Stormbreaker. So now Beta Ray Bill can tap Stormbreaker and it turns into a staff, which also turns him into his human form, which actually turns it back into a Corbinite.
Cool. Very cool. So
But you mentioned this Donald Blake fella. I was always a little, he was a human, right? Like he existed before he was Thor, right? Donald Blake?
See, this is what's confusing. As far as I know, in the first Thor story and whatever that was, Journey to Mystery 83, I think, as far as I know, he was a regular guy that discovered the hammer. And then when he tapped the hammer, he turned into Thor. But it was years later, a different writer revealed that actually he was always Thor. He just didn't realize it. He was made to forget by Odin. That's the way I understand it, right? I don't know if you know, Josh.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah, that's what I remember it as.
Because I was remembering the Valkyrie stuff. Remember, Mike, when we were talking about Valkyrie, how she was like a lady who suddenly believed she was a Valkyrie. So,
now, do you guys know what my favorite version of Thor is? Did you guys ever see the Incredible Hulk TV movie from the late 80s?
Oh, I sure have.
Where he meets Thor and that guy, Donald Blake, holds up Mjolnir and he's like, "Odin!" And he turns into Thor. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, and he's got the big, furry collar.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool. You ever see that, Mike Dell?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, he has the walking stick that turns into Mjolnir. But the gimmick here is that when he's Thor, and if he's not holding Mjolnir for more than a minute, he reverts to Donald Blake.
Which is hilarious. But that's only when he's on Earth, when he's on Midgard. Yeah, everywhere else, he's just Thor.
That comes into play later on. But I think that's pretty interesting. It builds up a lot of easy plot points for you. You can always have him just miss every fight he has. Thor's too tough. He's too tough to hammer this guy. Oh wait, he dropped his hammer. Look out! Now he's weak.
It's kind of like a DC thing, a DC idea, right? Where Aquaman can't be out of the water longer than an hour, and Green Lantern has to recharge his battery every 24 hours. It's kind of like that.
Hour Man.
Yeah, Hour Man. There you go. Yep. See. Anyway.
All right. So Donald Blake's walking through this park, and he's just a lot of exposition and whatnot. But hey, look at that dude in the foreground over in the right corner. That's clearly someone Walt Simonson knows, right?
Yeah.
He's smiling.
Yeah.
It has to be a chum of his that he put in there. And look at that girl skateboarding in the background. That is not gonna,
Yeah, like doing like the Michael Jackson like lean back.
that's not going to end well.
Right.
Moments before disaster. Yeah, but all right, Michael. So what's he talking about here?
Well, he's kind of thinking about it's funny because he's like, who could guess that within my frail body lies the soul and power of the mighty Thor, waiting to be released by a mere tap of my enchanted cane. This is very like Stanley-esque writing, I think. You know?
Yes, very 60s-ish.
Right. I love it. And then basically so he's walking along and then mid thought he gets hit in the back with a frisbee. And then it's funny because he's like, "What is this? Some new attack?" Oh, good grief. He turns around, it's just some kids playing frisbee, right?
Yeah.
But then...
By the way, this just reminded me, have either of you guys seen the movie Hard Ticket to Hawaii? By any chance?
Not this week, but no.
It's an amazing film. I highly recommend you both watch it immediately. But there's a scene where someone dies because they get killed with a frisbee with razor blades.
I've heard about that. Yeah, I think I've seen that scene.
So that's what I thought of when the frisbee hit him in the back. It could be an attack. You never know. But anyway, all right, yeah. But it's just some kids playing frisbee in the park.
Yeah, no, Josh, you should Google this scene because you can find just that scene on YouTube. But anyway.
Okay, I'll look that up.
Yeah. So anyway, so then these are not the same guys, but then all of a sudden there's two guys there, like two toughs, and they grab Donald Blake and they stuff him into this car and slam the door, and then the car drives away, and then Donald Blake is like, what do you think you're, Colonel Nick Fury? Sure enough, it's Nick Fury, and those were S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, right? They were kidnapping Donald Blake. So in this scene, we find out that even though Thor's secret identity is secret, Nick Fury, of course, knows what it is because he's Nick Fury. He runs S.H.I.E.L.D. He has to know these things, right? So then the car is driving along, and then it turns into, the wheels rotate, and it becomes one of those classic S.H.I.E.L.D. flying cars. And then meanwhile, Nick Fury's explaining what's going on. He's like, we've got an emergency on our hands like we ain't seen before. Only one guy I know of can maybe handle it, and he packs a hammer that makes our latest weapons look like Tinker Toys. And so then, this is kind of funny, inside the car, Donald Blake taps his stick and becomes Thor. It's kind of funny. Mm-hmm. And then the car, basically flies up to one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarriers, and we see all these look like almost like F-15 fighters flying around it. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool shot. And the car is like tiny compared to this thing. And then we cut over to kind of like a what would you call this? Like a private screening. It's almost like Citizen Kane. Like we see this businessman like, playing this movie, and then in the foreground we see Thor chilling out like on one of these seats, and Nick Fury's there, and they're watching this footage of basically this guy's explaining it. He's like, this is the very latest development from our telemetry division, an experimental warp-driven probe capable of covering unimaginable distances, blah, blah, blah. So basically, this thing is out in space, and this is what's happened. It's like, these are the last pictures we received from the probe. Note the apparent vessel in center screen. An alien ship unlike anything we've seen before. Now watch the star. As the ship passed by it, the star suddenly flared to life and was sucked in by the ship. So that's what was going on. That's connected to what was happening in the opening scene, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the guy's like, our experts think the vessel was refueling and destroyed an entire star to do it. And then the ship, the ship is traveling at several times the speed of light, headed directly for our solar system. And I love how dramatic they are because they still haven't shown Thor yet. And the top panel, Thor is all in shadow. At the bottom panel, Thor is all backlit, right? So we don't see his face. Mm-hmm. So he's like, go ahead, Josh.
I was gonna say, yeah, the like storytelling through the art is absolutely fantastic. In these first few pages, I mean, even from the beginning with like the explosion of the universe, it's kind of like a complex idea to kind of like wrap your mind around. So they do a great job there, and then the humor works earlier on, and then the like tapping the stick to turn into Mjolnir inside of the car. It's like, did that really need to happen? No, but it like added a little bit of like character to what's going on, and then it just like adds to the visual. So instead of just having like the car flying and seeing clouds, you've got this like nice cool like explosion that really frames the car well. This like dramatic lighting when they're kind of getting their briefing of what's going on for their mission. It's all so great.
Yeah,
I'm really loving this stuff.
Well, I guess technically he did have to tap the stick in the car because they couldn't let anyone else on the lake.
Right.
Good point. Yeah.
Right.
But that is unusual. It is funny though that it's in the car. It's just kind of funny. Not funny, but different.
And like normally for stories, the beginning of comics is kind of dull because they're trying to set up the story so quickly, and it's just like, this is what we gotta do. Like this, having this guy do the presentation, and then Nick Fury's like commentary on top of it, like the guts, Stitwell, come on, like it's great that they've added this like they've just like pumped it with real character, and I'm loving this.
So then Thor's like, and the probe, and then Nick Fury's like, deader than a doornail, Thor. And then he's like, we got to find out what it is. And you're the only Joe who can do it. Again, just like Stanley dialogue there, right? Will you help us? Well, then we cut to the next page and we finally see a full shot of Thor flying through the air, right? Skyward. And then we cut over to Asgard. And they're kind of having like a feast there. And we see, what's this? Is this Volstagg from the Warriors 3?
Yeah.
And then we see Sif. Is it Sif or Sif?
Sif and Balder.
Sif, Balder.
I'm not familiar with this Balder fella. Tell me about Balder.
He's one of the Warriors 3. He is.
Well, no, he's not. He's separate from that.
Yeah,
is he?
I think, the three are the guy like the Errol Flynn guy with the sword, and then the other guy with like the Asian guy, the mace or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, the Warriors. The Warriors 3 are
Andrel, Hogan, and Volstagg.
Right. Yeah, Balder. I don't know much about him, but I know he's kind of like. I think he's Thor's like not brother, but he's one of his closest friends. And in this story, he looks kind of like not the way he usually looks, but if you see the way he is in like the Marvel Universe entry, he has got one of the freaking coolest outfits you've ever seen. Like if you get a chance, look it up. But he's so cool. And I don't know anything about him. I just know that he looks cool. He's got really cool.
Yeah, here he's got like the gray hair. He looks like an old guy because I guess he was down fighting in Hell, right? Is that what's going on? Hell is a dark domain, and it kind of left him scarred. He's like, he doesn't want to fight anymore. Over the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sif is kind of like feeling bored too, and nobody wants to like go out and train or like go out and battle or anything, right? So
yeah, I guess her deal here is that Thor left her for Midgard. He wanted to stay in Midgard, not be with her, so her heart's a little broken, and she's looking for something to do, and no one has anything no battles for her to fight at the moment.
Right, and then Heimdall, he's like he's guarding the Rainbow Bridge, and they kind of they're catching up. And then we cut over to Thor, meanwhile, a long way from Earth. So Thor is flying through space, another really cool shot of him flying. And then he comes across the Scuttlebutt, which is a freaking cool-looking ship. Yeah. It almost looks like a
Star Destroyer.
Yeah, like a Star Destroyer, or like a battleship on Earth, but it's flying through space. It's so cool. It has all these guns on the top.
During his X Factor run, didn't they have a big ship as well?
Yeah, it was called Ship. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess he's got his things that he likes. He likes dinosaurs, he likes ships, he likes monsters. But anyway, so then we cut inside to the computer, like the Scuttlebutt computer is tracking Thor, and it's like target locked, magnification 3, target closing, and then it takes a shot of Thor and hits him. And then it keeps firing at him. And then Thor throws his hammer, hits the ship. And then he rips through the hull and goes inside, and there's all this cool, like, almost like Kirby technology kind of thing. But then as he's walking his way through, and then all of a sudden this big hand comes and grabs his head. And then, we don't know what's going on. We cut away. We cut away to Odin. And Loki. Odin, Loki. Mm-hmm. Yeah, mixing up names here. Oh my God, what a Freudian slip that was. So yeah, Loki sitting in like his castle, I guess, and he's like, "I'm bored to death." And again, this characterization's not quite like the Loki that we know now, right? Like this is the classic Loki. He's more evil here, and he's basically complaining about Thor and whatever. And then all of a sudden, this what is this thing here?
It's like a goblin or a troll or something.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about this.
Hunting. There's some people who ventured into like where they're not supposed to be hunting. They're hunting trolls.
Right. So this troll that is obviously sentient. It's talking, and all these Asgardians are chasing after it, and then it runs into the beautiful Lorelei. Oh my God! Look up Walt Simonson, Lorelei, Marvel Universe. She looks so beautiful. Holy moly! And she basically lures him in with her wily ways.
What's her deal? Like who's Lorelei? Like I'm not familiar with her.
Do you know, Josh?
She's just like an Asgardian, right?
Yeah.
But what's her gimmick? Was she the one on? Josh, you ever watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Was it when Lady Sif came down to Earth to get? Was this?
Oh, maybe that is her.
Because like
it's been a while.
Fall in love with her. It's kind of like the Enchantress.
Right. Lorelei, right?
Do you want to know what her superpower is? It says it right here. Ability to seduce virtually any male god or mortal to do whatever she wants.
Oh, there you go. Now, how is that different than the Enchantress? Isn't that like the same thing? Like, wasn't she?
Good point. Oh, but that's her older sister.
Yeah, it looks like that is Lorelei in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
All right, yeah, I thought that was familiar. The name. Yeah, so it runs in the family. All the ladies in that family can seduce the fellas.
There you go. So she tricks the troll, grabs it by the I don't even know what, and holds it off. Yeah, but
that's a tail, Mike.
Oh, is it? Jeez, okay. And then they're all like, "Oh, look at that!" So then Loki walks up, and I don't even know what do they. I don't even remember what to say here. You remember, Josh?
So essentially, he's pretty much like, "You guys better get off my land, or I'm going to tell Odin that you're, out doing this when you're not supposed to be doing it."
But first, Josh, he tells Lorelei, "Why don't you come back to my place?"
True, that's right.
She's like, all right, my lord. And then the other guy say, "Hey, you shouldn't do that, Loki. He's tricky, Right. And he says, "Hey, you kids, get the hell out of here. I got the lady, and I'm going home." Look at that, Loki just steps in, gets the lady, and goes.
Right.
Okay.
And never mind. It's not on this issue.
What's that?
Later on, like I think the next issue, Loki turns himself into Thor.
Okay.
And like disguises himself as Thor, and then starts making out with Lorelei. To make Sif jealous.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But since this is the first issue of Simonson's run, you can see he's planting the seeds for these little subplots here.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
With Loki and then the other eyes with Sif. So yeah. All right.
So then we cut back to the scuttlebutt, and Thor is getting his ass kicked, and then finally we get the full reveal of Beta Ray Bill, and he looks so freaking cool. This is a great shot by Walt Simonson. Again, this is his like actual outfit, not the one he had on the cover, but I don't know how to describe this, but it's kind of like armor, but he's got like these tubes around his like forearms going into like these gauntlet things and like these cool kneecap things. Like you have to see it to believe it. It's so freaking cool.
Yeah, it's like both armor, but also like what makes him, like what makes up his body. It's fun. Very fun. Yeah.
And then so they're kind of like yelling at each other back and forth, and obviously what's his name, Beta Ray Bill is a formidable opponent if he can take on Thor, because Thor is one of the strongest characters in the Marvel Universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're fighting back and forth. It's fisticuffs. He punches Thor's helmet right off, and then meanwhile, like the scuttlebutt is obviously still flying through space. So Thor, clocks Beta Ray Bill, knocks him over, but then something happens, and then Thor's like, "You leave me no choice. I must buy my trough. What weakness suddenly assails me?" And then all of a sudden we see he turns back into Donald Blake, and he's like, "Oh no, not now, not like this. We must be closing fast with Earth, and without my hammer in my hand," that's what I say every day, "I've reverted to my Blake form. I've got to You'll do nothing, demon. So yeah, now Beta Ray Bill comes and knocks him out because he's just a regular human, right?
I'm surprised he didn't kill him by punching him.
Yeah, you're right. Considering how strong he is, you're right. So he's
Yeah,
like,
that's a
quickly,
question. Can he die as Donald Blake? Like, if he got shot, would he be dead?
as far as I know,
I think
totally.
so.
Yeah, he's a regular guy. So yeah, so then Beta Ray Bill's like, quickly, Scuttlebutt, energize a stasis egg around me now. Stasis egg. So then, because what happens? They
crash.
Right.
crash, but Beta Ray Bill's protected by the stasis egg, and
Yeah, because Thor. We should say Thor was ripping up the inside of the ship.
Right.
During the fight, he was like intentionally trying to disable the ship.
Right.
So it would have crashed into Earth.
So basically, they now the computer's giving like a report, like, weapons are down to 5%. It'll take 40 hours to lift off. And our current state, they could destroy us. So someone is there, but they don't know who it is yet. And then it turns out that it's actually S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mm-hmm.
And so an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. is talking. Nick Fury's like, this is Nick Fury. He's like, this is Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D., talking at you. We've got you surrounded. What do you say you come out peacefully and we'll talk? So then, what's his name? Beta Ray Bill. He's like, what's this? A stick. And he sees Donald Blake's staff. And he's like, the hammer has vanished. Thunder and lightning. I guess that's an expression. What? So he cracks it against the wall. And then all of a sudden he turns into, as on the cover, a version of Thor. He's like, I have the power. The stick was the hammer. And now I could feel the power of the demon himself added to my own. Power enough to shake this planet to its foundations. So he throws Mjolnir. It smashes into Nick Fury's ship, and it looks like it destroys it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, a miracle. This hammer returns moments after being thrown. Awake, you demons. Your own weapon is about to be turned against you. Stand where you are or feel its power. So then Nick Fury's like, uh-oh. Oh, look at that. We got Dum Dum Dugan there.
Oh, I just wanted to mention that the reason he keeps calling them demons is because Beta Ray Bill, he sensed like the Asgardian whatever energy around Thor, so he's thinking he's Surtur, like the demon guy.
Oh, right.
So
Right, yeah, because the ship scanned his like biomaterial and realized it's from Asgard, which is where Surtur is also from, and where the demons are. That's why. He thinks he's a demon, so that's why Beta Ray has been trying to kill Thor this entire time.
Right. So then, like, S.H.I.E.L.D. is attacking with their like tank thing. I don't know. I don't know exactly where are they. So they're on Earth now, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
They crash landed on Earth.
Okay.
And just as Beta Ray Bill is like going to destroy these shield tanks and all this weaponry, we see that in the skies, Odin appears and he calls upon his son Thor because he's we have urgent need of thee in Asgard. I must call thee home. And a bolt of lightning comes crashing down, and Beta Ray Bill has disappeared, leaving Donald Blake on Earth. Screaming to the skies.
And yeah, I love this because it's like a biblical callback, right? Thor's like, Father, hear me. Do not forsake me here. Father! And he shouts out.
It's great,
yeah, it's so great. And then, but then the narration, but the lashing storm does not listen, and only the wind and rain reply. That's it.
Kind of a shot at Thor, and that Odin thinks he looks like a horse, though, right? He's like,
Right, yeah. It's funny too because like next issue he's like, "Ooh, sorry, Thor. I just saw some guy with some wings and felt the ore of Mjolnir and grabbed whoever I grabbed."
Yeah, I guess in fairness, he also only has the one eye, right? So maybe like
true, yeah.
Having trouble. But so Beta Ray Bill got summoned to Asgard, and Donald Blake, Thor, is left on Earth crying for his daddy. And then next issue, a fool and his hammer.
Anyway.
And look, they have the credits there at the end, which is unusual.
Unusual, yes.
Yeah.
Walt Simonson, John Workman, George Russo's, Mark Grenwald, there you go, and Jim Shooter.
Yeah, so there you go. First appearance of Beta Ray Bill. What you think, Michael?
Definitely thought it was good. It for some reason this is one of the only big runs from the '80s that I've never read, and I'm still on the fence of whether or not I'm going to go forward. I mean, I love
Really?
yeah, I mean, I love the art, but the writing's definitely solid. I just don't know, like, whatever it is, 40 or 60 issues or whatever it is. So
I would at least read the next 2 issues for Beta Ray Bill, but
Right,
that's
right.
just my opinion.
Yeah, the writing's a little clunky at times, but the art is spectacular. Oh
Mhm.
my goodness! Holy hell! This is Walt Simonson at his best here.
Now, yeah, I have to point out, I'm not sure how familiar you are, Josh, with Walt Simonson, but I first got exposed to him on X Factor, and I always thought his covers were always great, but I always thought his art was a little rushed. And even in this issue, you can see that some panels are like amazing, but then like some, like the introduction of Donald Blake in that park, I think that whole page is kind of rushed.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. There's definitely you can definitely see his favorite panels
Right,
compared to others.
right.
It does get a little bit messy at times, like when Donald Blake is being scooped up by the Shield agents. I was kind of like, whoa, wait, what the heck's going on? Because we have one panel and he's like talking to this group of people. Then all of a sudden, the next one, he's like being held by these people that we haven't seen before.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like, whoa, wait, what's going on here? Are these like kids stealing him? No, wait, these aren't the same people.
Yep.
So yeah, I definitely see where you're going, where you're coming from, because yeah, sometimes the action isn't as clear. But when it comes to those, like, half-page panels or like there's just some great stuff in here. It's so well done.
What do you think, Mike Dell?
Love it. I love Simonson. He's great, and this is fine stuff here. He's just so dynamic in all his compositions and his figures. And
Right. I agree. Yeah, like, I don't know. I know, Mike Dell, you said you've never read the Marvel Universe, the guy, whatever it's called, the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, eh?
Well, the updated one I had.
Yeah, that's not.
89. But yeah, I don't know if I had the original one or not. I don't think.
Josh, have you ever read it?
Again, I've read the updated one. Yeah.
Oh, so you got to go back and read the original. There's actually the original, but the second one is the better one. It's the deluxe edition. Imagine every Thor entry by Walt Simonson, like the X-Men are by Paul Smith, like all the Daredevil stuff is by Frank Miller. Like, I tell you, I'm kind of like selling most of my comics. I will never sell my Marvel Universe.
Really?
I have the originals, and I also have the trade paperback reprints that are on Baxter paper. And some of the entries are different because, like, between,
things would change.
Yeah, things would change. Right. So they'd have to update the Beast to make him furry, or they'd update Wolverine's costume or whatever. But essential reading. Definitely check it out if you can.
Yeah. No, I think the art is fantastic in this. So I definitely don't doubt it. Simonson's like creature design is super fun. Beta Ray Bill looks like completely menacing and terrifying in this issue, because we're supposed to believe that he's a bad guy, and then once he kind of turns into a good guy, it's weird. He's drawn almost the same, but I believe that he's good. You know what I mean? Like it's such a unique creature design where they can kind of play on that horror aspect and then kind of tone it back when he needs to be the hero. Even some of like that like weird dinosaur bird that is hanging out with Loki. The troll has like Salacious B. Crumb vibes.
Right.
Like there's some really great stuff in here that adds to the world and makes it feel more like lived in and new and refreshing, instead of just having like, they could have easily made the troll look like that, like a stereotypical troll or goblin where it's just like big thing with loincloth and angry, but they made this like furry monkey looking guy, and the birds have like like the dinosaurs kind of have like feathers, and it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, that reminds me though. You mentioned the furry little monkey.
Mhm.
In all the Thor corps, in all these different versions of Thor, was there ever a Thor monkey?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I would really like to read that book.
I think. Wait a minute. I'm going to look it up right now. I believe one of them is an animal, isn't there? Am I wrong about that? Am I thinking of something else?
Monkey Thor.
Well, there's Throg.
Oh, this Throg. Oh, okay.
And
yeah,
then
I guess
the Beta Ray Bill's horse-ish.
horse-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
guess
just came
that's
up with the new character, Funky. Thor Monkey.
Funky.
I'm gonna run with it. Can't wait.
Love
All right, so there is. I don't know, Josh. What out of 10? What do you give Thor 337?
Oh, 1 out of 10. For me, I think it's like a 7 or an 8. I really love the art. The story is super fun. Like, there's never a moment where like I want to rush through the dialogue or like skip pages or panels. Everything is pretty interesting to me. So it's one of my favorites, but it also has like the introduction of one of my favorite characters. So it might be a little bit biased, but yeah, I'd say like 7.5, 8.
Yeah, I'll go solid 8 here, just because the art is amazing. I love it, and you can see where he's going with this. Like, he's setting up a big storyline. So you're getting in on the ground floor, something good. So Mike, what do you think? 1 out of 10.
I give it a 7. Yeah, I love the art. The writing's definitely good, but it's the art that sells it for me. You know, so but yeah, I give it a 7.
There you go. Thor 37. Any final thoughts, Josh, on your buddy Beta Ray Bill?
I would like 100% recommend anybody who likes Thor or is interested in like fun sci-fi nonsense to go read this small little arc. It's like Mike Dell was saying, it's like 3 or 4 issues. Pretty fun, easy read, amazing art. Walt Simonson's stuff on Thor is always fantastic. So yeah, give it a look.
So I have a question for you, Josh. If they made a movie, who would play Beta Ray Bill?
A horse.
Oh, a horse.
Has there been any talk of Beta Ray Bill popping up?
That's good. He's been hinted at. There's like a skull in Guardians of the Galaxy that Star-Lord is like playing with or whatever at the beginning that kind of looks like Beta Ray Bill, and then in Thor Ragnarok on Sakaar. That's the planet that they're on, right? The Gladiator one. There's like a giant Beta Ray Bill statue.
Yeah,
oh, really? I didn't even know.
Yeah. So
now, because what's the next Thor movie? Like Love and Thunder?
Love and Thunder, right?
Yeah.
So they're introducing Jane Foster Thor. That's like that whole thing.
Natalie Portman, right?
Right.
Coming back.
And originally I had thought that they were just gonna like write a story where she gets the powers, right? Like in the comics, but they might do a multiverse thing since it seems like every movie is kind of like dealing with the multiverse now and the ramifications of every universe kind of exploding. That could be a fun way to bring in Beta Ray Bill, since Thor currently has Stormbreaker in the MCU.
Yeah, that's right. That's it. But his version's a little different. It's got like an axe end on it, right?
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I'm curious to see what they're gonna do. If they're gonna hire an actor, though, I would hire somebody who's like good with voice work.
Yeah, because
you're not gonna see the person. So
right. Good point.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe it could be fun to do like a Keanu Reeves. That'd be great.
But his voice is ridiculous. I mean, yeah, I love Keanu Reeves as much as the next guy, but
I can totally see a horse mouth, no lips, just like a horse mouth flapping, and it's Keanu Reeves.
That's we watched some dopey Keanu Reeves movie on the LCS show. Knock Knock, I think it's called, or
never heard of it.
Anna de Armas and some other really good looking girl was in it. But he is so bad in that movie. Holy hell.
Well, yeah, like in my mind, he's still Bill or Ted or whatever his name is from
Right.
Excellent. Like, I mean, I love, a lot of his movies, but I don't think he's a good actor. I never have.
Yeah, he's too small to be Beta Ray Bill too, right? You need a big, beefy guy with a mask on.
Well, they're gonna mocap it, right? Josh Brolin's not as big as Thanos.
Oh, hold on. Hold on.
Wait a minute.
Take this from the top.
But, yeah, I suppose. But, yeah, I guess. I don't know. just get the guy who voiced Mr. Ed and have him be.
There you go.
All right. Next week on the big show, we have another guest, our old buddy Kevin Jank. Is coming
Woo!
on. And usually when he comes on, Mike L makes him read some terrible issue that Kevin Jank's going to read. Some Superman thing for the 50th time.
And just for the record, it was my idea to have him on, but then you scooped him. But anyway.
I had no idea. We double booked. But so I let Jank pick what book he wanted to read, and he chose Long Shot issue 2. And I think that's 1986, right?
Cool.
Somewhere around there? 87?
Yeah, 85.
Interesting.
85, yep. Now, Josh, you remember we reviewed
We reviewed a Long Shot, yeah.
What'd you think of it?
I don't remember much from it, if that answers your question.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, this is a limited series, a 6-issue limited series. I had issue 3 when I was a kid, but I don't remember anything about it other than the art is by Art Adams. And our beloved Ann Nesenti did the writing.
That's right.
And from what Mike was telling me before the show, he loved the writing. And
yeah, that's right. That's right. I love the writing. Yes, that's correct.
But we'll get to discuss Art Adams. We haven't talked Art Adams on the show ever.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So yeah, we want to thank the co-host of Here Comes the Spider-Cast, Joshua Mervell, for joining us this week. Thank you, Josh.
Thanks,
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Awesome. And yeah, you can tune in every week to hear a review of a different Bronze Age comic book. 1 week I pick, 1 week Mike Dell picks. Once in a while we let our guests pick, but it's rare. You can find our episodes under Comic Book Syndicate on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, also on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and the Comic Book Syndicate website. So until next Tuesday, this...